welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, and I would like to formally welcome you to Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity, yum. It's like a treat.
Oh, that's right. I love Taco Tuesday. It is one of my favorite theme songs ever that we've ever used on the program, that I've ever used on any program. Once again, gotta love Taco Tuesday. In love with tacos, period. Yesterday, while watching the Monday Night Football, I had a chance to hang out with my broham. He had some both beef and chicken tacos that were off the chain. So, needless to say, I kept some for leftovers because I had to have some tacos for Taco Tuesday. So that's what I enjoyed for lunch today. Now, I know you're wondering, why do you celebrate? I mean, you're talking about news and politics. Why do you celebrate Taco Tuesday? Because to me, tacos are kind of like the quintessential American food. It's something that came from another country, that came from another culture, came to the United States, and we have made it uniquely ours. If you go to Mexico, trust me, the tacos that you eat there are going to be very different. Good, but they're going to be very different than the tacos that you have here. So whether it's pizza or hot dogs or whatever it is, just seems like because we have so much, I'll just say it, I know it's a dirty word sometimes, but diversity, multiculturalism. We have so many different cultures here. We have the opportunity to bring stuff here to the United States, to take what comes from someplace else, bring it to the United States, make it uniquely ours, and make it so much better. Anyway, that's what I love about tacos. Tacos is just the example of that. It's basically just, you know what? It's a way in which to eat leftovers that, not quite so messy. Anyway. Fortunately, Mikey couldn't be here with us today. Mikey had a very, very busy schedule, as do I. So we're going to run a real quick program. Because I realize that I've been taking time off, but you folks got to understand, as you know this, I'm running for Congress. So it means I got a lot of stuff, a lot of places I got to be, a lot of people that need to see me. It's a little bit harder. I'll just tell you, it's like taking on another job. And anybody who knows, if you run your own business, it's like having two jobs. So it's like I've taken on a third job. So it keeps me busy, to say the least. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your understanding. But anyway, we're here. We're going to get it done. But before we do, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We got Hitman Industries. If you're looking for rifle or pistol length barrels, they are the place to go. Just go there. Go to hitmanindustries.net. If you're a first responder on your first order, you get a 20% discount. Check them out today. By the way, they also have Glock barrels. Also, we have the California Republican Assembly, known as the conscience of the Republican Party. That was President Ronald Reagan, who referred to them as that, working to help conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Just endorsed President Donald J. Trump to retake the White House in 2024. Anyway, check him out at cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Then you've got Hawg Holsters. You can find them at hawgholsters.com. That's HAWG, holsters.com. That's helping Americans wear guns. They are the place to go to get your holster, whether you're looking for a tactical holster or you're looking for a concealed carry holster, whatever your setup. Trust me, they have it, hawgholster.com. Make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there. One word, all caps, no spaces, and get your discount today. And then finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, tactical gear, camping gear, you're looking for boots, you're looking for hats, you're looking for glasses, you're looking for binoculars, you're looking for anything tactical, everything but the gun, you can find it at uscombatgear.com. Veteran-owned and operated. Great prices, fast shipping, great selection. Check them out once again, uscombatgear.com. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into today's stories. And we're going to start with this first one, which I found was interesting. And I may find it interesting for reasons other than you find it interesting. And this was a story that was over at Breitbart, talking about how illegal aliens, or those who have entered the country illegally, well, and by the way, and are currently residing in sanctuary states, have decided that they are going to flee these United States, or at the very least, they're going to flee those sanctuary cities. And once again, here's the piece there at Breitbart, and let's go ahead and go down and read it. It says here, border crossers and illegal aliens are fleeing sanctuary cities in the United States and heading back to their native countries. In interviews in the Chicago Tribune, some of the nearly 21,000 border crossers and illegal aliens who have arrived in the sanctuary city of Chicago, Illinois, said they wish they had never made the journey up to the United States-Mexico border. The Tribune reports, the American dream doesn't exist anymore, said Castellan as he laid on a blanket on the bare floor of the station the afternoon before they left. There's nothing here for us, he added. Emphasis added. There you go. Oh, nothing here. I'm sorry. Nothing here for us, he added. Migrants said they are realizing the city is at a breaking point. Not only is there no more space in shelters, they also acknowledge that some residents in Chicago oppose the opening of more shelters for them. Castillo, I'm going to just pronounce it Castillo, I guess the J is, anyway, Castillo, said that despite the dangerous trek to get here, often begging for money and sleeping in the streets to cross several borders, the journey had not been worth it. We didn't know things would be this hard, he said. I thought the process was faster. And to this I say good riddance, and I say that in this way. I understand why anybody who lives outside the United States, why somebody in particular who lives in a place where they see no real opportunity, where they see no future for their family themselves, I see why they would head back. But here's the thing. Once again, this is a guy who was probably here by himself. In fact, most of the people who are crossing the border, they're not families. Most of the people that are crossing the border are actually working age men. And they're coming here so that they can make money and send it back to the country that they came from. They're not interested in coming here to be Americans. They're interested in coming here to take advantage of the opportunities that are available. Now, the problem with that is that in many cases, people want to say, oh, well, they're doing work that Americans won't do. But the reality is that in many cases, they're doing construction. They're doing hospitality work. They're doing transportation work. They are doing work that Americans would do. What they're doing is they're doing work that Americans would do, but they would not do for the wages that these individuals are willing to accept. They would not do this labor to work under the conditions that these individuals are willing to work under. And be clear, the people who are advocating for an open border, the people who are advocating for not closing the border, they are looking for a permanent underclass workforce, someone who is not going to complain about the working conditions, who is not going to complain about the pay, because as bad as it is, as unfair as it may be, it's still better than where they came from. And so their attitude is, well, you know what? I'll take a chance on that because it's still way better than where I came from. And just so you know, the people whose attitude this is, there are both not just Democrats, there are Republicans. Now, the Republicans generally aren't in elective office, or at least the ones who are in elective office, they just don't say anything, right? They know, but they're not saying anything because they know that some of their Republican friends who own these businesses, they need that permanent underclass of worker. They know that. And once again, I'm just saying that to say that's part of the reason why this whole immigration issue has never been fixed, and why, quite frankly, it'll be a while before it ever does actually get fixed. Because, there's an economic incentive. Now, people seem to think, or at least Republicans are arguing that, well, Democrats are doing it because they believe that they'll, get voters out of it. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the data is showing that those who are coming here, in particular those who are coming here the right way, those who are becoming citizens, who are going through the process, they're not cutting Democrat. They're not necessarily becoming Republican, but many, many more of them recognize and they see, because they're coming from socialist countries, they're coming from dictatorships, They're coming from places with very closed economies, very limited rights and freedoms, and they are seeing in the Democratic Party what they saw in the dictators and the socialists and the communists where they came from. And they're like, yeah, I left that. I came from that. I don't want to be a part of that. Why would I opt to return to that? And so in many cases, they are deciding that, no, that's not for us. So anyway, folks, a lot of these folks, by the way, were going to be going back anyway. They were going to be heading home anyway. And like I said, they were going to be heading home largely because they came here to make some money. And they're realizing that there's not as much money for them to be made. Don't know what to tell you. Or at least the conditions aren't what they thought it was going to be. And I'll just tell you, starting off with nothing, I don't care where you are. Starting off with nothing is going to be hard. But I'll tell you what, here in the United States, the opportunities, the high watermark is so much higher. It's so much better. It's worth taking that chance. And anyway, just thought I would note that. I thought you guys would find that story to be somewhat, at least, interesting. All right, moving right along. Mainstream media manipulates crime data. Now, I don't think anybody watching this show who knows us would disagree. Yeah, we all know that they manipulate data. We all know that the mainstream media are liars and that they're pushing a narrative, right? They have a narrative that they want to tell. And one of the narratives that you often hear them tell is that they'll sit there and they'll try and tell you, well, crime, including gun crimes, is actually higher in red states than it is in blue states, right? That's what they try to do. But I think we all know that, they're kind of manipulating the data. And our good friend, Mr. John Lott, over at the Crime Prevention Research Center, well, he's kind of made that kind of clear. It says, going here in this article, it says here, as gun violence has spiked across the country, Republicans have pointed to the steady stream of shootings in Democrat-controlled cities such as Chicago, Detroit, and St. Louis, to argue that strict gun laws are not the main driver of mayhem. In response, Democrats and their supporters have tried to turn the tables on the GOP by noting that gun violence is highest in Republican states. Noted articles they have here are gun violence worse in red states. It's not even close. A headline, Politico proclaimed. Then we have red states have higher gun death rates than blue states, and that was also in Forbes. The conflicting storylines underscore how various data sets and definitions can be used to politicize and spin the problem of violent crime in the U.S., proving, again, Mark Twain's caution about lies, damn lies, and statistics. Depending on the framing, accurate set of numbers can be assembled to tell starkly different stories about mass shootings, school shootings, and the overall correlation. Now, what he goes on to point out here is kind of how this data is being manipulated. One, it's being manipulated by how they define the crimes. So, in other words, there's an FBI definition. There's one definition of a mass shooting, which is the FBI definition, which is 4 or more individuals shot, not including the perpetrator, and by the way, also not including gangs or drugs. While oftentimes when you look at the there's a database that's out there, the crime or the gun violence map something, I forget what it's called, and I literally had the name before I came on air today. I had it right in my head. Anyway, but they count pretty much 3 or more, and they, by the way, also include the perpetrator if the perpetrator is shot. You might also want to look at, and then the other thing that they do is they are focusing on states where even when you look in red states, when you break it down by county or by city, within those red states, the areas that are driving the gun violence and crime tend to be metropolitan cities or Democrat-controlled cities or counties, right? So they're manipulating the data to make it sound like Republican policies are doing it, when in actuality it is liberal DAs, liberal sheriffs, liberal city councils, liberal county boards of supervisors who've decided that they're not particularly interested. In enforcing the law. Anyway, that's what they're reporting over there at. That's what they're reporting over there at the Crime Prevention Research Center. So anyway, go over there, check them out. Great article. And looks like here we have a comment from Chris Maple, and this is actually over at Ops Lens on Facebook. It says, "Deport them all." And here's what I'll tell you is I understand. Once again, I understand the sentiment behind that. You are right. I think a better direction to go in that is to stop providing benefits. If there's no place for them to work, if there's no place for people to enter the country to work, if they're not getting free health care, if they're not getting free education, if they're not getting a place to live, if they're not being offered a Biden phone, they will eventually self-deport. And that's what we actually started to see happening under the Trump administration when they were actually going after those who were in the country illegally and seeking to deport them. In many cases, they were self-deporting. The challenge with trying to round up everybody who is in this country illegally is, number one, you've got some people who, while they probably should not still be here, a lot of times it may be a paperwork snafu or something like that you've got to address. Then there's just the logistics of getting them back to their country of origin. It's much, much easier if they are doing it themselves. So I hear what you're saying. Let's try this. Let's try enforcing our immigration laws. How about that? Let's start with that. If we can start with enforcing the law, I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that we'll start to see some movement. Okay, moving right along. FPC, or the Firearms Policy Coalition, has won again. And this is one where, a lot of times it's the minor battles that the little battles that make all the difference in the world, especially when you're starting to really assert something that is a right as a right. All right. And I'll take you to this piece right here. Once again, this is over at FPC. It says, today, the Firearms Policy Coalition. And when I say today, that means today, Tuesday, November 14th. Today, Firearms Policy Coalition announced that Judge John Milton Young of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania has granted summary judgment for the plaintiff in William v. Garland, which challenged the Federal Gun Control Act's lifetime ban on the exercise of Second Amendment rights due to a single misdemeanor conviction for a crime that did not involve violence, physical harm, or a firearm. The opinion can be viewed, and you can see it right there at fpclegal.org. Once again, that's fpclegal.org. Here, I'll read just a little bit of this to you. It says, following a 2005 trial, Edward Williams was convicted of driving under the influence in violation of Pennsylvania's law. Because he had a previous DUI non-conviction in 2001 and that was later expunged, the 2005 conviction qualified as first-degree misdemeanor, which carries a maximum sentence of up to 5 years imprisonment. However, he was never imprisoned and was instead placed under house arrest for 90 days, ordered to pay costs, a fine of $1,500, and complete any recommended drug alcohol treatment under mandatory minimum sentence. So in other words, here's the thing, folks. The only people who should be barred from owning or possessing guns, are people who have demonstrated that they are violent. And when I say demonstrated that they are violent, it means they've been convicted of violent crimes, right? If you've been convicted of violent crimes, then that is a reason to challenge one's right to be able to own or possess a firearm. Now, if it was a long time ago and you've got it expunged and you've demonstrated that you have changed, I think that's a different story. But once again, in many cases, you have in places like California and obviously in Philadelphia, you have individuals who they want to prevent as many people as they can from owning guns, which means that they want, in some cases, misdemeanors. If you were guilty of a misdemeanor, right, which means a minor crime, then you should lose your fundamental right to keep and bear arms. Now, you don't lose your right to vote. in many states, you actually retain your right to vote as a felon. Now, you don't still have that right while you are a part of the system, right? So while you're on probation or while you're in jail, you don't get you don't get to vote. But once you've cleared out of the system, you get your right to vote back. But you don't get the right, your right to possess a firearm back if you've been convicted of a felony or, in some cases, some misdemeanors. Now, in this particular case, it was a first-degree misdemeanor, which meant it was punishable by a crime of up to 5 years. Now, the law specifically says if you lose your gun rights if you're convicted of a crime that could result in a jail sentence of more than a year. So that's what it is. Even though it was a misdemeanor, because the potential sentence was more than a year, well, then they believed you should lose your rights. And we said, no. And the judge said, no. And you get to keep your rights. So yay on that one. And once again, it is an understanding that even in the past, and once again, if you look historically, the only time we've removed people's rights, their right to own a firearm, is when they've demonstrated that they are violent and would and could potentially or were likely to utilize that firearm violently. So anyway, hats off to the Firearms Policy Coalition once again doing their thing and protecting the rights of citizenry. All right, moving right along, and this one, I'll be honest, is really kind of a throwaway or throw-in story, but I find it interesting nonetheless. You might recall that yesterday we did the story about Gina Rapini saying that her injury in her final game in women's professional soccer, the fact that she got injured was proof that God did not exist or that there was no God. Her logic was completely off, made absolutely no sense in it, but you know what? Whatever. Anyway, so now there's an opinion piece over at the Washington Free Beacon I thought you guys might want to read. The guest comment says, "God here, Megan Rapinoe's career-ending injuries is proof that I am real. I thought it would be hilarious, and it was." More just kind of the fact that she said something stupid like that. Now, mind you, I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment of the article, but it is satire, all right? Because how do you blame someone who you do not believe, an entity that you do not believe exists, for an injury that occurs to you? It's like, okay, well, God exists if I can conveniently blame him for my injury. Does that work? Yeah, that'll work. No, it doesn't work, folks. It doesn't work at all. Anyway, but this article is over. You'll find it over at the Washington Free Beacon. Go over there, check it out. It's an interesting read, but like I said, I'm always kind of just a little kind of about the whole, always be careful. Be careful using the Lord's name in vain. Anyway. All right, folks. Well, now that brings us to, where am I at? There we go. It brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholster.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Our first one is going to come to you from our good friend. Oh, no, we're not going to do that one yet. We're going to do this one first. You might recall that there are a number of folks who are out there who are basically advocating for Israel to enter into a ceasefire, that are basically siding with Hamas. Basically, the people who beheaded children, burned families alive, raped women, and dragged their bodies through the streets of Israel. Yeah, they're siding with them. I just thought that I just thought it was time for a fitting memorial to them. And that brings us to this. Mount Moron. We have here Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC. We have Ilhan Omar. We have Rashida Tlaib and Cori Bush. Yes, I have no problem referring to them as Mount Moron. And also the person that should be put with them is our good friend, Greta Thunberg. Here she is with her squinty face, and I love this one here. It says, the look you have while holding your farts so you don't leave a carbon footprint. And I'll bet you she makes that actual face. And then there's always an argument. You may or may not recall, but there's always an argument about whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Well, there's another action film that is, in fact, a Christmas movie, and there's now evidence. A lot of people always talk about Die Hard being a Christmas movie, but First Blood This is Rambo, First Blood. Was the first 80s Christmas action movie. And you might notice there in the background, the snowman and the Christmas tree. Yeah, I think it qualifies. I don't know about you, but I think it qualifies. And then finally, love catching lying liars in their lies. Well, here we have a good one. We have Mr. Fauci. Caught, I say, by our good friend, Mr. Neil Cavuto. Check it out.
First of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down.
And the record will show, Neil, that we didn't recommend shutting everything down.
I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And that was a very difficult decision because I knew it would have serious economic consequences, which it did.
The evidence will show, Dr. Fauci, that you are full of feces. Not saying, just saying. Anyway, that'll just about wrap it up. But before we go, it's time to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Hitman Industries, rifle and pistol length barrels. You'll find them at hitmanindustries.net. Check them out today. California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. Hog Holsters. Get your hog holster at hogholster.com. Go there today. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your discount and your hog holster today. And then outdoor gear, tactical gear, camping gear, whatever you're looking for, they have it there at uscombatgear.com. And with that, we're going to call it a day. We will be on our way, and we will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. You folks take care.